impact of trade lines on our credit. Now, in this instance, they were talking about how after a while they wanted to use trade lines to improve their credit score. But after a while, them trade lines had certain limitations to where they weren't having the same impact that they used to have. So I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how these trade lines, they're good for a season and they're good for a very specific reason. And I want to clear up some of the myths of trade lines. And of course, we're going to talk about how you can actually use trade lines to eventually get to the bigger bag. Now, I'm going to talk about trade lines on both the personal side and on the business side, so we can have a more, comprehensive understanding of how these things work. And new apartment, who this for real? Shoot. Hey, look, the new apartment, I'm not paying no utilities. I got the maid coming in here. They swap out the tiles, they fix up the bed, you feel me? So yeah, that's another perk of credit. If I didn't have good credit, I wouldn't be able to just go from city to city. But going back to trade lines, right? We're going to talk about them on the personal side. We're going to talk about them on the business side and how you can use these trade lines on both the business and the personal to get access to higher credit limits and more funding for yourself as an individual or for your business. All right. So everybody who's not familiar, my name is Jamal. I am the credit protector. I help small business owners, entrepreneurs, and investors leverage their personal and their business credit to get access to more bank funding. Okay, so one of those tools that we use to do that is trade lines. Now, you may hear this term a lot: trade line, trade line, trade line. And it's often sold as some kind of like silver bullet or magic pill. But in reality, a trade line is just an account appearing on your credit profile. That's it. Any account that you see on your side and on the business side, every account that you see on your credit report is a trade line. It's just industry talk when we say it, right? Now, there are two ways to get trade lines. Okay, you can get them for free, where someone adds you onto their credit or to a credit product, or you can pay for them. Okay, if you don't know anybody with good credit. So let's talk about that. How to get trade lines for free. If you need trade lines and you want to beef up your credit report, and I'll get into when to actually use these, but I want to just explain how to get them first. You can get them simply by asking someone to add you onto their credit card. Okay, this could be a friend, a relative, your uncle, brother, sister, cousin. It can be your significant other if you all are keeping your credit profile separate from one another. This method of having someone that add you onto their credit card is called piggybacking. This is something that parents, if you're a parent and you currently want to set your children up with good credit before they ever get a credit card, or even if they're under the age of 18, because they can't, most credit cards don't allow you to apply for a credit card until you're the age of 18. You can just add them to your credit card, and then they'll start to begin building credit based off of your credit. So if you already have high limit credit cards, if you have credit cards with on-time payment history, it's a great idea to add your children to your credit cards so that when they're of age, they already are walking into adulthood with the 800 credit score. Okay. Now, of course, as a parent, that means you want to make sure you have good credit and that you're keeping up with your payments so you can set your children up. Now, as an adult, what you can do, you can still use the piggybacking method. And this could be if your husband has better credit than you, if your wife has better credit, if your parents whoever, if you have friends, cousins, you know, anybody really that has better credit, you can be added on, or you can just ask them, hey, can you add me to your credit card as an authorized user? That's it. Now, to dispel a lot of misconceptions about this, when you're adding someone or asking someone to be added as an authorized user, there's no risk to them. Like, it's literally no risk to them, because the only thing, yeah, they don't have to do anything. All they're doing is adding you to their card. If anything, you have to share your information with that person, because some credit cards, they won't start reporting onto your credit until they have your birth date and social. So make sure, if you're going to do this for free, you are doing it with people that you trust, right? Because they may have to get that personal information from you so that it can actually be linked and show up on your actual credit report. Now, the benefits of doing this, why would you want to go through all this just to add a trade line or be added as an authorized user? Hold on, before I do that, let me talk about the second way. So that's the free way. Ask friends, families, loved ones, your boo bae honey butt, to add you on as an authorized user to their credit cards. That credit card history will then become your history. There is one exception to this rule, that is American Express. This piggybacking method does not work for American Express. However, the benefit to being added to someone else's American Express is that you can now be inside of American Express's database. So as your credit improves, American Express will be keeping track of your progress. So they will then begin to send you pre-approval offers because you're already in their system. They already have been tracking your progress. They can see that your score is increasing, right? So that is what we call data mining. It does allow you, appreciate you, Real. It does allow you to data mine with American Express, but American Express does not report back history. Okay, so you just want to understand that part. Now, with paying for them, what that is basically, you don't know anybody with good credit. I mean, let's keep it real. You don't know anybody with good credit. And you're like, well, I'm still trying to build up my profile. I need larger lines of credit. I need credit history. What can I do? Well, there are companies that actually act as brokers between people who need trade lines and people who have good credit, and they're the middle person. And you could pay a fee and they put the trade line on your joint. That's it. They be like, all right, pay some money. This person's going to add you as an AU. Boom. Now you got a trade line on your credit report for whatever dollar amount that you felt is good, right? Or if you're working with someone, I highly suggest that you work with someone who actually is in the credit space and can give you specific guidance. Hey, get this trade line because this trade line is going to help your exact report. Because what will happen is that if you just start buying random trade lines off the humble, it's not going to have the impact that you want it to have. You may not even see any results from it whatsoever. See any results because you're just blindly buying trade lines that aren't giving you the results that you're looking for, right? So definitely work with someone who can ensure that when you purchase a trade line is going to have the desired effect. Okay. It doesn't have to be me. It could be whoever you like. I don't know, whoever. So now, when do we want to go through the process of getting a trade line on our personal credit? You want to start getting trade lines when your credit report is already clean. Okay. Already clean. One of the biggest misconceptions, especially about how it's being sold in the community, is that, oh, you got bad credit, just throw some trade lines on there and it'll boost your score. It won't. If you have collections, if you have late payments, if you have a bankruptcy, repos, right, on your credit report right now, just throwing a $50,000 trade line on your credit report ain't going to do nothing. I promise you, it's not. You about to waste $1,500, put that trade line on there, and your score is still going to be like, what are we doing? Because trade lines do not compensate for negative items on your credit report. I know I know it's not what people want to hear, but just putting a $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 trade line on your credit report does not negate all of the negatives that are on there. Okay, so the best time to get a trade line is when your credit report is clean. So if this is why it's great for children, if you're a parent and you have children, this is a great reason to piggyback and add your children on, because their credit reports are clean, right? And on the back end, they can directly link you to the child so they know it's a family connection. And now when those trade lines hit, there's no negative information dragging them down. Since your credit report is totally clean, now you have a 10, 20, $30,000 trade line on there that's 5 years old and above, and it's beefing up your credit profile, right? The other thing though is you don't want to make the mistake of having a profile that's only full of authorized users, aka trade lines. You want to make sure that not only have you gotten rid of all of those negatives, you also want to make sure that you have positive accounts that are your accounts. We call these primary accounts, meaning that you are the primary account holder. My bad, I got my computer here. I'm talking to Facebook and YouTube here, and I'm talking to IG here. So I'm like, boop, 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 right? That's what's going on. So you want to make sure that your account, your credit profile is clean, no negatives. Then you want to make sure that you went and added positive primary accounts. That means you went out and you got some secured credit cards. You went out and you got maybe a secured loan, okay? Even if you went out and bought a car. I mean, because getting an auto loan is pretty easy, even if you are rebuilding your credit. Granted, you're going to have to pay higher interest rates because your credit is still low or you don't have a lot of history, but you know, whatever. It's a way to build, right? It's just a way of build up. Okay. So you want to have 3 to 5 primary accounts, no negatives. All right. Then start adding on those trade line accounts. If you're looking for trade line account from your family members, you want to go for credit cards that are at least 5 years old and that have at least a $5,000 credit limit. Okay, so 5 years old, $5,000 credit limit. I would say that's at the bare minimum. Now, if it's younger than 5 years old, I mean, that's cool too, I guess. I would say at least 2 years old. Like if nobody has a credit card for longer than 5 years, at least somebody got to have something for 2 years, something, right? So that's the lowdown. That's the skinny on trade lines on the personal side. Clean up that personal, okay? Get rid of those negatives. Put on 3 to 5 positive primary accounts that are in your name, then add the trade lines. The reason we do it this way is because with the newer FICO scores, FICO 8, FICO 9, FICO 10, FICO 10T, these FICO scores can see that the accounts don't belong to you. There's a little field when you look at your credit report and it literally says authorized user. So that's why you want to make sure that you have a mix of primary accounts and authorized user accounts. So when a person, or I should say when an institution pulls your credit, they can see that you real life have your own credit and you are able to stand on your own with your credit report, okay? Because your credit report is your report card. So those are kind of like the limitations and how to use these on the personal side. Now on the business side, it's a little different. It's a little different when we're talking about trade lines on the business side, because business is everything's a little more complicated in some ways. Trade lines are still great on the business side because they build what's called comparable credit. Now, comparable credit is essentially banks kind of, what's the word? They really go off your reputation with other banks. Okay. So for instance, when we're talking about comparable credit on the business side, if you have, let's say you're trying to go after a $50,000 loan on the business side, but this is your very first time applying for a $50,000 loan. What that bank is going to do, they're going to look at, in a lot of instances, they're going to look at both your personal and your business credit profiles, not just the score, the credit profile itself. They're going to look at that and look to see, okay, has this person been able to manage or handle $50,000 in the past? Now, that could be whether it's an auto loan, or if it was a secured loan, or maybe between the different credit cards you have, maybe you have access to $50,000 in available credit and you have all on-time payments for that amount of credit that you have. They're going to look at that and they'll say, all right, well, Bank of America gave them this amount. Okay, Chase gave them this amount. M&T gave them this amount. Truist gave them this amount. I can rock with them. I can rock with them. I'll give him 50. You know what I'm saying? I'll give him 50. That's cool. You know, I see he got 20 over here. He got 30 over here. I looked at his whole profile. He managing about 150 on a personal. He got a couple of tier 1, tier 4 trade lines. I'm gonna see what he do with it. I'm gonna give him the 50. Right. So that's what comparable credit is. And that's why that's one of the benefits of adding high limit trade lines to your business credit, if you have access to it. Right. Now, there are different, not all trade lines are created equally. You do have programs like yesterday I went live and spoke about the NAV Prime card. That's where that can help you. That's considered a trade line, right? Because you can pay NAV to report to your business credit. That's Dunn's, Experian Small Business, Equifax Small Business. And with NAV, not only will they report that one trade line that you pay about $50 a month for, if you get the NAV Prime card, that acts as a second trade line. Excuse me. And I've already seen people getting like 30 bands on that NAV Prime card. So now you get that joint, you're going to have a $30,000 trade line reporting on your business credit. That looks hella sexy. And it improves your chances of getting more lines of credit at that same level. Okay. So that's where, when you're looking at trade lines on the business side, you do want to go for higher dollar amounts, 50, 60, 70, 100, 200, if you have access to those type of trade lines, right? Like I said, connect with who you want to connect with, reach out to me. If you're interested in those, I know people that can help you out, right? So just shoot me a DM about it. So that's how that works with that. Also with trade lines, they may be called a reference, like a trade reference. That's kind of like what Dun & Bradstreet does. It's not officially a trade line, because what happens is that with Dun & Bradstreet, as soon as you stop paying them, they'll stop reporting those trade references on your business credit, and then your business credit is going to drop. Okay. Plus, with the DUNS, that fee that you pay is like $1,200 a month or something, some stupid amount that you don't need to pay that. Don't pay for the Dun & Bradstreet credit builder program. It's not necessary. So that's when it comes to the business side, that's how that works. Also, with the business trade lines, not every company reports to your business credit. Tone was good, my guy. Not every company is going to report to your business credit. Like we just spoke about NAV, they definitely report to your credit. It's like $50 a month or $150 every quarter, right? Or you know, we got all the other basic stuff. eCredible is something that you can use to report and build up your business credit. Now with business credit trade lines, they typically, with business credit, is in tiers, right? It's in tiers and it's based on like the strength of that particular company. So a lot of people start at tier 1. That's the simple stuff. That's NAV, that's your gas card, that's your eCredibles, that's your Quills, you know, the stuff where you pay like $100, they ship you an invoice, you pay the invoice, and then boom, that's going to show up on your business credit. Then you have like tier 2, which is Sam's Club. Now, the cool thing about business credit is pretty easy to elevate because all they want to see is that you have a lot of trade lines, or what they call payment experiences. And that is essentially, how quickly do you pay these people back on the business side? They're not too stressed about like your credit card utilization on the business side. They worried about how fast are you going to give them their money back. So if for all my people who may be thinking about transitioning over to business credit, but you got late payments on your personal side, you're going to want to switch that up. You want to definitely get in the habit of paying companies back as fast as possible, because on the business side, they give you these things called terms. You may have a net 15, you may have a net 5, you may have a net 30, a net 60. That net number, that number is how many days you have to pay that bill. And the closer you get to the number, the lower your business credit score drops. So if you got a net 30 account and you wait to day 28 to pay that net 30, that actually counts against you. It's the total opposite on the personal side. On the personal side, it don't hurt you until you're 30 days late. But on the business side, if you only have 30 days to pay these people back and you wait until the 28th day, it dings you. And people ain't going to rock with you, basically. So on the business side, you want to get into the habit of, as soon as you get an invoice, you shoot them that check. You pay that junk ASAP. You feel me? So that's how that works on the business side. So as you scale up with those, it's like 1 to 5 is tier 1, then 5 to 10, tier 2, 10 to 15, tier 3, and then up from there, and 10, even with tier 4, where it's also, that's where the comparable credit comes in, and ensuring that you have high values and high dollar amounts for your trade lines. And once you're at tier 4, you built out your business credit, that's when you get into things like going back to high limit approvals. That's where you get into being able to purchase a car under your business without anybody having to ask you about your personal credit, without anyone having to ask you about your cash flow, right? When your business credit is strong, your business credit is built out in those tiers, you can walk in, buy a car with your business credit without them having to check your docs, because your business credit shows that you are making those on-time payments. Your business credit shows that you have the comparable credit to support purchasing a car under and solely under your business name. Okay, so this is how you can use trade lines to build out your personal credit and build out your business credit in order to get high credit limits. Now, if you're interested in buying trade lines, like I said, I do know people who offer trade lines as a resource, right? Definitely just shoot me a message, shoot me a DM. I'm happy to make that connection and build a bridge so that you can elevate and get to those high limits. But remember, don't hit me up about no personal trade lines if you still got derogatories. If you got lates, we need to have a separate conversation, okay? We're not talking about trade lines if you still got negatives on your credit report. At that point in time, we're going to be talking about what needs to be done so that you can clean that credit so we can get you over to the business side. So then we can start leveraging that business credit, okay? That's the real plan. That's the real sauce. All right. We do what we need to do on the personal side. We make that clean. We get to a 720, 750, then we just stop using it. We don't use it no more. Then we move over to the business side and we start growing that business side with those business trade lines, with those trade references and those trade experiences, right? So if you need trade lines, hit me up. I can make the connect. If you're not ready for trade lines because you have negatives on your report or things holding you back from high limit funding, also feel free to hit me up. We can always set up a consultation. That way I can give you clarity on exactly how you need to move forward so we can get you to the bigger bag, right? All the low credit limit, charge-offs, late, all this stuff is temporary, y'all. It doesn't have to be permanent. You do not have to go through your entire life with bad credit. You don't have to. How long does it take? You maybe want, well, how long does it take to fix my credit? As long as it needs to. If you had bad credit your whole life, was 6 to 12 months. You had bad credit for 40 years, 30 years. With 6 to 12 months of improving your credit, then for the rest of your life, you up, okay? So definitely hit me up, reach out to me. If this was of value to you guys, just let me know in the comments. I'm gonna leave this replay up for the next 48 hours. This is Sunday, you know what I'm saying? So I know people not really on here like that, but I appreciate everybody that definitely tapped in. The support, the love is greatly appreciated. I hope you guys got value out of this. I hope it cleared up some confusion or misconceptions about it. And once I finish the lives, I'm going to double back and look in the comments. So like I said, hit me up if you need help with any of this. Hopefully it gave clarity to you guys. Hopefully it made a lot of sense to you all. And I'll talk to y'all later, all right?